Hey guys, allPRO here from allPRO Sports Performance, here to bring you week 2 of the KDF Marathon Strength Training Program. Hopefully we're going to improve some core strength, get you moving faster, and injury-free this KDF season. Here we have this week's program with 7 exercises in each of the workouts. Of course, this week we're going to keep it the same with 3 sets of 10 on any rep-based exercise, or 3 sets of 30 seconds for anything that's timed. If you have any questions, feel free to email me or comment below, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. So starting week 2, workout 1, we have a Bulgarian split squat. So I'm going to put my foot on something that's elevated behind me, take a big step out, and drop that back knee down towards the ground, keeping my chest up and working on a little balance as we work on that strength. Notice that my knee doesn't track too far forward over the toe, and that weight is in my right hand with my right leg back. Next we have our single leg RDL. Here we're hinging at the hip, driving that back leg up towards the ceiling, keeping our back flat. A key here is not to let the hips rotate or the shoulders as we drop that weight towards our big toe on the working leg. Again, the knee's not deviating left or right too much. Next we have our first plyo exercise. We have our speed skater. So it's a big lateral bound, landing on one leg, trying to absorb that landing as best as possible. As you notice, I'm trying not to let my knee rotate left or right, and I'm really trying to jump, land as soft as I can, and hold. Fourth, we have our high band row, and here we're driving the elbows down towards our side, squeezing the shoulder blades as best as we can, and the key that's most important is to not let the shoulders shrug up towards the ear. That way we get the best contraction we can from the muscles that we want. Here we have a variation on the regular push-up. All we're going to do is do a push-up, step to the side with our hands and our feet, push up again, and then go back to where we started. It's going to get a little more muscle activation and some more stabilization in the shoulder joint. Next up, we have our bird dog. This is our first core exercise, and all we're going to do is start in a quadruped position, a hands and knees position, and push our opposite arm and leg out towards the wall in front of us and then behind us. Notice that my back isn't arching, my hips aren't rotating, and I'm trying to squeeze my glute as hard as possible. Rounding out the workout, guys, we have the forward plank. Now, it doesn't matter if you're at your knees, your toes, or doing the variation at the end like I show, a long lever plank. Keys to success here are keeping the midsection tight, squeezing the cheeks, and keeping the low back flat. Notice that I'm not letting my hips raise up, my hips aren't rotating, and my shoulders are square to the ground as well. If you really want a challenge, try this long lever plank like I'm doing here. You'll be shaking in no time. Alright, on to workout 2. The first thing that we have is a forward step up. Here you can use a bench, you can use a chair, anything that you might have that's elevated. You're going to just simply step up, keep the chest up, and drive the opposite knee all the way up, holding it as best as possible. Balance is actually pretty important so that we can work some hip stabilizer muscles. Second on the list, we have stability ball hamstring curls. If you don't have a ball, you can just simply use your socks on linoleum or some tile. You're going to raise your hips up, dig your heels into the ground of the ball, and pull back as far as you can. Now, we are going to 10 reps, so if you get close to cramping up, just stop the set before 10 reps. Don't keep going until you cramp. Here we're going to do a variation on a regular clamshell called a super clam. We're going to get into a modified side plank position. From there, we're going to raise the hips up and then open the knees up, squeezing that cheek to rotate that top knee out. Now, I do have a band on here. You don't have to use one, but I highly recommend it for a little added resistance. Fourth on the list, guys, we have a pec fly. Now, I'm doing it with a band, but you can do it with a cable machine if you have access to it. Notice I'm bringing my hands either all the way together or completely across the midline. Now, I do have my elbows bent a little bit, and that just reduces the stress on the elbow. That's how I prefer them. Here we have a reverse fly with the band. Again, you can use the cable machine if you have access to it. I'm pulling my hands out opposite of the pec fly, and I'm trying to squeeze those shoulder blades as close to the middle of my back as possible. Now, just like the row, we want to make sure that the shoulder blades don't shrug up. Now, I always assume that people have done a crunch before, but if you haven't, you're just going to start with your feet out, laying on your back. I like to put my hands near my ears. You're trying to pull your ribs towards your hips, not letting your shoulder blades come too far up off the ground. And for our last exercise, we have the side plank with a reach through. This is a variation. It's a little bit harder, so if you need to go to your knees, go to your knees. You're going to start with that hand up towards the ceiling, rotate and reach all the way through, and then come back to the starting position. This is pretty tough even for 10 reps, but if you can, make it up to 15. All right, everybody. I hope to hear back from you about how your progress is going. Let me know if I need to include any other information for you. And again, if you have any questions, please email me or comment below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Have a good week.